Well, hello, folks. Pastor Rocky, Spruce Pine First Baptist Church. Today is day 100 since the flood came, and we are counting those days up and hoping that they will be gone soon. But there's still a lot of recovery to do, a lot of other things happening. Today being Sunday, of course, we'll have church. No Sunday school today, just preaching time at 11. Just because of the cold weather and the danger of people getting out. Let me just mention to you that yesterday I talked about now what, using some of Jesus's words about dealing with situations that he's told us about in Matthew 5. When he said to us some very hard words, they're not words that cannot be dealt with, they're just hard to deal with. And as I read those yesterday and talked about those, it says to us that we are to love and care for and pray for and try to do good to those that do evil against us. And that's as mentioned yesterday, it's a hard thing, and some of you made comments about that, about different situations in your life, people are trying to harm you or breaking fellowship with you or somewhere in that situation. But Jesus said to Simon Peter when he asked him about forgiveness, he said, "How much should I forgive?" And he said 70 times 7. So that's a lot of times that we're supposed to forgive, and that's difficult to do. The more that you draw closer to God, the easier this practice is. But the getting over the starting gate is the hard part, because we have so much baggage that's blocking the road. So we got to get over that to get on the other side, to let some of this other stuff go that we've been hanging on to for a long time. Because you'd be surprised, and well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but a lot of people hang on to a lot of stuff for a long time and they just never let it go. And it's always there, and it always plagues them. And they see the person, they get upset, or they think about it, they get upset, or an anniversary comes along that something happened and they get upset about it, whatever the case may be. I had a friend in Florida that was responsible. He was driving a vehicle and he was under the influence of alcohol, and the guy he was with, they were both in alcohol and drugs, and the friend of mine wrecked the car and it killed the passenger, and he had to go to prison because of that, because it was a vehicle homicide. And so every year on that anniversary, he wouldn't get out of bed. He laid in bed the whole time. And it happened years ago, but he still, every anniversary, it still plagues him to death. And he's not a very strong spiritual person. We're working on that back in the day when I was his pastor, but I haven't seen him in years, so I don't know. But that can affect you. But now there's an answer that we can understand a little bit of out of the book of Romans. In chapter number 12, we have a lot of great information in this particular chapter. Some of the things that we know about it that is so clear that the first part of it reminds us that we beseech ourselves, our bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Be not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We know all that in the first part of that. But in the latter part of the chapter, the Lord says here, he says, "Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but consent to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own mind. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men." Well, that's a tough one, because some of these things that we talk about, that we have experience with, it's easy to let some of that hang on to you. So I've got to get this verse here that I've left to read now, just to sort of let it be ingrained in you. Verse 18 says, "If it is possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceable with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Therefore, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. For in so doing, you shall heap coals of fire upon his head." I'll tell you what that means in a minute. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Is it hard? Of course. You better know it's hard. But getting over that first hurdle gets us down the road to where we can do the best we can, because here's what happens to us. When we don't get over these things, they clog the road up. So we can never get to the next thing because we can't get over these things, and they happened years ago or whatever the case may be. So there's something here that's very important. When I was in Bible college, this verse came up as we were studying the book of Romans. And this verse came up and said, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceable with all men. That's Romans 12:18. So I didn't know what that meant. I seriously did not know what that meant. So I just raised my hand, and the professor said, yes, sir. And I said, could you please tell me what this verse means? Because I didn't know what it meant. I mean, I came from a fighting background and trouble and hippie days and motorcycle gang days and drug days. So I didn't know what that meant. I thought, hey, if it didn't work out as much as you tried, then bust them in the mouth or whatever case may be, shoot them, what I don't know, whatever. And this is what the professor said to me to our class that day, and I've never forgot it. I've used it many, many times since, and I'm using it again right now. He said, this means, and I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to give you what he said. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceable with all men. This was his definition of that verse. Don't let it be your fault. Don't let it be your fault. Do whatever you can, any way you can, as much as you can, to not let it be your fault. Because when these things that we talked about yesterday, that some of you made comments about, that you're having difficulty with, I understand, but you still cannot let those things linger to you and hang on to you like tentacles that pull you back into the swamp. You have to stand up and let that go by the wayside. Even though you can't solve everything, you still can't carry everything. So I need to be able to let God have that. Now, it says, therefore, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. This is verse 20. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. Friends, so doing, you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Now, people will tell you that verse means, well, if you're good to somebody, the Lord will put fire on them, and he'll burn them up, and he'll bring chastisement on them, he'll put them in a bad shape. That's not what it says. I mean, that's a great thought, I guess, but that's not what it says. Somebody says, listen, it says, therefore, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. For in so doing, you shall heap coals of fire on his head. No, sorry. Sounds good. That's not what it means. In the Bible days, they carried fire, just like Abraham carried it up on the mountain with his son Isaac. They carried the embers. They would take embers out of a fire, and they would put them in a particular way, and they would fold cloth around them or some sort of fabric, whether it be some sort of animal skin or something, and they would carry those coals where they were going. And then when they got to a place to build another fire, they would open that up, and those coals would be remaining, and they could use those coals to fight the fire. What this verse says is that if your enemy's hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. And also give him something when he gets home to build a fire with. Now, that's a completely different perspective than a lot of people have, but that's exactly, you can research it. I invite you to study it out. This is what you'll find if you study it out, that you are giving the person food, water to drink, or food and drink, and comfort. You're providing them everything that you can provide for them. That's like Christ. Hard, yes. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Hard situation? Yeah. That's because it's worth something. And if you do that, if we'll do that, we'll be better off. God bless you. Thank you. I'll see you.